What if a house could be more than shelter? What if it could be sculpture carved not out of marble, but out of air, light, and concrete? What if a structure didn't just frame the world outside, but invented entirely new ways to live within it? In 1925, in the hills of Silver Lake, Los Angeles, one such vision took form. It was not a home in the traditional sense. It was an idea. This is the story of the How House by R.M. Schindler. Los Angeles in the 1920s was a city of illusions and possibilities. Spanish colonial revival homes with clay tile roofs climbed the hills. Grand Beaux-Arts buildings dominated the civic center. Hollywood was rising, and so were dreams. But beneath the ornamentation was a city in search of identity. For Rudolph M. Schindler, an Austrian émigré trained under Otto Wagner, and Frank Lloyd Wright, Los Angeles was a blank canvas. A city without deep architectural roots. A place where old-world rules could be broken and something new could emerge. And in the steep, wild terrain of Silver Lake, Schindler found a site and a client that allowed him to experiment. James Eads. Howe was no ordinary patron. Nicknamed the Millionaire Hobo, he had renounced his wealthy St. Louis upbringing to advocate for labor rights and social justice. He believed in egalitarianism, in experimentation, in alternative modes of living. For Schindler, Howe represented a kindred spirit, a man unafraid of radical thought. Their collaboration would produce a house that echoed with these values. No hierarchy of rooms, no borrowed styles, no nostalgic decoration. This was to be a home of intellect, geometry, and space, a composition as much philosophical as physical. Schindler didn't design buildings, he designed space. He once wrote that, "Architecture is not an arrangement of facades, it is the creation of spatial relations." And in the How House, this idea reaches new heights. Instead of symmetry and ornament, Schindler used form and void, compression and release, interior and exterior, like a composer playing with rhythm and silence. The home is a composition of staggered, interlocking cubic volumes, flat roofs, cantilevers, shadowed recesses. It looks almost like a three-dimensional Mondrian. Windows aren't afterthoughts, they're instruments. Each is placed with intent, framing slices of the Los Angeles basin, allowing glimpses rather than panoramas. Intimacy over spectacle. Schindler treated the steep hillside not as a problem, but as an opportunity. The house engages with the land jutting, stepping, clinging its form, a visible record of the slope it occupies. Through cutouts, skylights, and layered voids, natural light becomes kinetic. It animates the walls, it sculpts the interiors, it tells time. This was modernism, but not the European kind. This was California modernism, rooted in landscape, light, and liberty. The How House was realized in 1925 using concrete, stucco, and redwood, a palette that combined modern industrial strength with natural texture. There is no grand staircase, no formal entry. You approach obliquely, discovering the house rather than confronting it. Schindler invites movement around the structure before movement into it. Rooms defy traditional names. A living room flows into a study that might open onto a balcony. Boundaries blur, walls bend slightly inward. Every turn holds surprise. Terraces don't just offer views, they complete the geometry. The house seems to grow with the hillside. You live in the house and on the slope. Much of the furniture was built in, designed to harmonize with the space. Even the chairs and shelving become part of the architectural vocabulary. This wasn't a mansion for comfort. It was a laboratory for living an architecture of ideas, expressed through structure. The How House was not widely published in its time. It wasn't celebrated by architectural elites the way European villas were. But in retrospect, it was decades ahead of its time. It anticipated the case study houses of the 1940s and 50s. It laid the groundwork for California modernism's emphasis on indoor-outdoor flow. It offered a regionalist alternative to international-style orthodoxy. Schindler saw Los Angeles as a city that could break free from European influence, not through mimicry, but through reinvention. The How House proved that a house could be a modernist sculpture, not on paper, but in concrete and sunlight. Today, the How House stands as a registered historic cultural monument, its sharp lines and floating plains still challenging, still poetic. It doesn't just sit on a hill, it projects into the future. The How House was not a conclusion, it was a spark. In 1925, as Schindler shaped concrete on a California hillside, another modernist was shaping ideology through geometry across the ocean in Paris. Where Schindler sculpted the hillside, Corbusier stacked logic into cubes. Where Los Angeles offered freedom, Paris offered a stage. Click on our next video to continue this timeline journey through the architecture of revolution, reaction, and reinvention. Because architecture doesn't just house us, it provokes us. And the story is far from over. If this journey into the How House stirred your curiosity, inspired your imagination, or made you see space differently, subscribe to Space, Shape, and Scale. We explore the architectural turning points that change not only how we build, but how we live. Hit that bell to be the first to see what's next. Click on the next video and let's keep building this timeline of architectural thought, one idea at a time.